League of Legends desperately needs voice comms. This is something that I've been preaching for a very long time now, but I was really struggling to put it into words as far as exactly why I think we need it. And I came across this Twitter thread by Darshan about a month ago or so. And he kind of put it into the exact words that I had been struggling to say myself. So I wanted to go over this thread. I wanted to kind of start this conversation again about adding voice comms into League of Legends. If you guys want to chime in on the conversation, feel free to drop a comment down below. Looking forward to reading, whatever it is that you guys have to say down there. But again, voice comms, something I feel like we need. It's something every other competitive video game has. In the competitive scene, they have it. But for us solo queue players who want to take the game seriously, we're left without this really core aspect of a competitive video game. And it just leaves us in kind of an awkward state. There's also the fact that toxicity could potentially be a little bit easier to deal with, or at least be seen less of if we have voice comms, so on and so forth. But I'll go through the Twitter thread and I'll add some commentary along the way. We're going to start here with basically what I think is the best way to possibly put things, which is humanizing our solo queue experience. That's kind of the core words that I was looking for that I couldn't quite get across. So Darshan says here, after playing Valorant for a month straight and coming back to League solo queue, one thing is for sure, League needs voice comms in solo queue. Couldn't agree more. I think the first step to improving the toxicity is humanizing our experience. Again, something I had already touched on. Toxicity is a big issue in League of Legends. This is not a secret by any means. A lot of people consider it to be one of the more toxic video game cultures or communities that is out there. And a lot of people, I understand, would be worried about toxicity kind of leaking into voice comms. Personally, I think it would potentially fix things a little bit, but obviously it's not going to be the ultimate fix. It's not going to be like if you add voice comms into League of Legends, nobody will ever say anything mean ever again. Obviously, that's not realistic, but just like there's an option to mute yourself or mute other people in chats in League of Legends, you can do the same thing in voice comms, right? Just having the ability to mute yourself, mute other people, opt in or opt out to voice comms could also be something that could be implemented, especially for people who are streaming, for example, and they don't want to have for other people potentially saying heinous things on their stream. They can just opt or choose to not opt into voice comms. I think that there's a lot of ways around it, but again, I don't think it's going to be the ultimate fix. It's not like adding voice comms gets rid of toxicity altogether. He goes on to say, even when we are upset, when we understand clearly that the other player we are talking to is a human being and not just some pixels on a screen, we could be a lot more understanding in our response. Could not agree more. I think there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there who will look at their monitor, look at the pixels on the screen, and just go to town saying some absolutely insane things, being super toxic because there is that disconnect, right? He says it perfectly. It's just pixels on a screen. You're not flaming a human being. You're flaming your bard support, for example, right? It's a lot easier to pull that trigger and to be toxic when there is that disconnect. So when you hear that other human voice on the other side, it might make things a lot easier and a lot more likely for people to just be less toxic. I can say from personal experience, some of the most fun and enjoyable experiences I've ever had playing League of Legends are when I get into a game and someone just happens to drop a Discord link and we're all in voice comms together. Even when things have gone really, really poorly, people are just typically nicer to each other. People, you might actually have things in common with these people that you're playing with. You might actually be able to make jokes with the people that you're playing with, but you never get to talk to them as human beings and share these connections if you never hear their voice to begin with. So I think that this is obviously a good point, making sure that we understand that we're talking to a human being, not pixels on the screen. He says he'll be making a more in-depth video on this, but I think there has been a discussion on the toxicity aspect of League for far too long. Couldn't agree more. Again, one of the more toxic video games of all time. League of Legends and Riot Games has already kind of addressed this, and they're working on it this season. I know you guys could probably speak from experience as well, but for me personally, when I report people who are clearly toxic in the games, I do get a lot of instant feedback. So it looks like they're cracking down a little bit more on people being toxic and trying to deal with it. But at the same time, I don't really know exactly how they're getting punished. I just get a pop-up notification when I log in that says they have been punished. That could just be like chat restriction or 3 games without chat. I don't really know what it is. So they're addressing it. They're doing something about it. But I don't know exactly what they're doing or how much it's actually helping. He says, I think we can all do better to focus more about thinking and creating steps forward. Wait, I think we can all do better to focus more on thinking about and creating steps forward and solutions. Agreed. At its heart, League is a competitive team game. Could not agree more. It's really unfortunate. I like to say a lot of times when I'm streaming and I'm playing my solo queue game, when things go poorly and I have a good game, at the end of the day, I am one player on my team playing with four random strangers. I can only do so much individually in my games, but it's a team game and you have to be able to work with people. And when you can't communicate with them, you're again left with five strangers, complete random strangers playing together with no cohesiveness, with very little communication. Yes, they added new pings that you can use this season, but how helpful has that really been? It's been okay in my opinion, but it's not enough. It does not compensate for the lack of our voice being able to be used to communicate with our teammates. What made Valorant solo queue so fun for me was even with these other four strangers, but you can actually talk to them this time. I often felt like we were working together. I'd like to do what I can to recreate that in League because those are my favorite moments. Again, kind of echoed what I said earlier. Random Discord chats with players that I've played games with before have also been really fun, even when things go poorly. Being able to work together, talk to them. I've been lucky enough to play in like some Twitch Rivals tournaments and stuff like that, and those tournaments have been some of the more fun experiences that I've ever played in. Because again, it's a competitive team game that you actually get to play as a team for once. Which when you don't have voice comms, you don't really work as a team. You're working as five individuals doing their own thing, and you don't really know what everybody's up to, what everybody's thinking. They could be, playing Yumi and watching Netflix on the side. They could be mute and not talking at all. They could be distracted, but you don't know. You have no idea what's going on in anybody else's life during the state of the game. You're just in the game with them, hoping and praying that they play up to par and they're on the same page as you. Let's see. One last thing here. Someone said I share this opinion, but I don't think it solves all behavioral issues. Definitely introduces some new ones, especially for women and people of color who get unfairly targeted by simply participating in voice comms, for example. Agreed, it's not a solve all solution, but I think it's a step in the right direction. I agree with Darshan here, and Joe White here. I'm not really sure who this is. Does bring up some good concerns. This would be something that would obviously, I guess, have to be monitored closely. And I would also like to believe that if you can, hear someone being toxic in voice comms or targeting someone in voice comms, that should be pretty easy to report, right? It's a lot different than League chat that we have right now, where people can sometimes hide their slurs by typing it out differently or whatnot and kind of avoid punishment. If it's in voice comms, if we can hear their actual voice, that seems like a pretty easy punishment. So again, I agree with Darshan here in the sense that it's not a solve all solution, but a step in the right direction. And some of these other concerns, I feel like could get punished pretty easily, but would definitely need to be monitored if this were to be something that they would implement. I do have to say, unfortunately, I don't think Riot Games is gonna go in this direction. It's been a pretty heavy topic for a long time now, and the fact that we're in what, season 13 or something like that now. It's been 13 years of this game, and they still haven't implemented it. I think, especially this season with the new addition of like more pings and stuff like that, that's more the direction that they're going. But at the end of the day, all you can do is chime in, share your opinion, try to add to the conversation. And who knows, maybe if it gets enough attention and enough people are asking for it, it's something that would be implemented in the future. I'm hopeful of that. But again, really interested to see what you guys have to say about this topic. Feel free to chime in on the conversation down in the comment section below. Looking forward to reading all of that. Just let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys thank you guys so much for watching to the end of this video. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.